Hey everyone, this is Chase and Jeremy from Rocky Mountain ATV. We're out here at Little Sahara Sand Dunes with Sand Mountain in the background, and it is Banshee Day. So in the off-road ATV world, one of the most iconic machines that is out there is the Yamaha Banshee. And the reason and what makes these so iconic is you just look at it first glance, the first thing you notice with these is the twin cylinder engine. You've got those two head pipes coming out. Now to give you a little background on the Banshee, Yamaha started making these back in 1987. And what's cool is that when Honda and Suzuki started making their single cylinder two-stroke engines, Yamaha said, screw that. And what they did is they actually took essentially the exact same motor that they had in their RZ350, which was a street bike two-stroke engine, and they stuffed that into a quad chassis, and you now have the Yamaha Banshee. And since then, they've just been one of those iconic machines that people absolutely love. And I've got Jeremy here with me today. So Jeremy is actually our head purchaser at Rocky Mountain. These are his babies, and we're just gonna go through and kind of talk about the story of how this all came about, and then we're gonna talk about what we've done. You can see this built Banshee right here next to us. We're gonna go through, talk about everything we've done to it. So Jeremy, these are your Banshees. Give us a little background and why a Banshee?
So years ago, I had two of these. My buddies and I would come down here almost every weekend or every other weekend. Built them up. One was fully customized. As much as you could do was basically just a hill shooter. The owner of Rocky Mountain called it the paperweight because it was just crazy light. The other one was kind of the duner player, and you know, had them for quite some time, ended up getting married, you know, life kind of goes on, ended up selling them. And about a year or so ago, I kind of got the itch, like looking around on the local classifieds, and thought, you know, it'd be pretty fun to get another one and maybe see about, you know, building one up. So I originally found this purple, lavender, and white one. Bought that. It was in really good shape for what it is. You know,
this one's bone stock, right?
Pretty much bone stock, other than a set of older FMF pipes and silencers, and you know, a set of paddles, and that's it. And then after that, I bought this one here. It was more of like a barn find. And so we chose this one for the full-on machine build. We felt like that would be the best one versus this one because this was in such great shape.
Okay. Now I've been watching you go through the process of building this thing up. You know, I've been watching a mechanic go at it. So you have thrown what to me looks like just about everything you could at this. So for those of you out there that are watching, if you maybe have a barn Banshee, you know, one that's gonna need some TLC to get it running, maybe you have one that's in good shape like Jeremy found, or maybe if you're thinking about buying one of these and you wanna build yours up, we're just gonna go through it right now and just talk about everything that we've done to this to get it built like you see it right now. And so first up, Jeremy, let's just talk about the chassis, let's talk about suspension.
So it started off, I basically, in the garage, stripped it down to bare nothing. And when you remove the stock exhaust and the stock heel guards and that, there's some extra pieces on the frame that you don't really need. So I basically ground those off, cleaned everything up, and then sent the frame over, had it all powder coated, give it kind of a clean look. And my vision in the beginning was kind of just to have this retro look. So we went with a black powder coat, knowing that down the road, you know, once we got to that point, we were gonna do, you know, like a yellow kit with the old retro kind of look, you know, with the black and yellow.
Yeah, no, I think it turned out awesome. Now, I know with the axle and the chassis, I know a lot of riders, they like to take these and make them longer and wider, and that's what you've done, right?
Yeah, so knowing we were gonna do some stuff to the motor, and these things already are a little bit jumpy on the front end because of the power they have from stock form, I basically found a +6-inch overswing arm, you know, to lengthen the rear end. And then the front is a kit from Lone Star that I bought that is a +2/+1. And then we have the Tusk adjustable axle, and what that does is basically gives us a wider stance and basically makes it a little more stable. So the rear end's stretched and the front and then the wheelbase is also stretched, so it gives it, you know, just a more steady.
So that way when you're holding on for dear life, it at least feels a little bit more stable for you, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Now, for those of you watching, when it comes to Banshees, there's honestly countless modifications you can do to these when it comes to the engine. You can throw as much money at it as you want to, but for you, I know we were talking about it earlier, you said you want to keep it, you know, run pump gas. You also just want to keep it reliable, but in, you know, true Banshee build form, you still want to add some power to it. So we'll start with the first air box. I know most guys, when they get these, the first thing they do is they modify the air box, which is what we've done here. So we've gone through, you've taken out the stock air box completely because these things are pretty choked up.
Yeah.
And so you got rid of the stock air box and then you put the uni filters in there that clamp right onto the carburetors.
Yep.
And you say that just really opens up the air box, right?
Yeah, just basically where they're right in the open, it's allowed to breathe more, gets a lot more air. You know, when you're running the stock air box, there's a few mods you can do. You know, people will drill some holes and Uni makes these little filter vents you can stick in the top to kind of control how much sand and stuff's coming through. But ultimately the best way to really open them up is to do a set of like either K&N clamp-ons or Unis, but we opted with the Unis because they just worked well with these Electron carbs we ended up putting on it.
Okay, yeah, and so we did that, and then also, remember guys, if you're gonna be, you know, modifying that air box, you always gotta remember you've got more air coming in, you gotta get more air out, so we've got the FMF pipes on here, so we got the pipes and the silencers. Jeremy, just looking at this thing, I think for me personally, one of my favorite looking pieces are the Electron carburetors. So I'm familiar with them, but why did you decide to go with the Electron carburetor?
So these Electron carburetors are 34 millimeters, so they're larger than stock. Stock are 28, I believe. So you're gonna be able to feed the motor more fuel. And then the other nice thing, like when you do some stuff to these Banshees, you're constantly messing with the jetting. So these Electrons are self-adjusting. So we essentially got a larger manifold from Moose, mounted these up, but the ease of use is gonna be just night and day different compared to what stock comes with. The Electrons are gonna be a little bit on the higher side as far as price, but what they bring to the table versus one that you're constantly messing with the jetting is gonna be just well worth the price.
Yeah, I've seen these on bikes and you're right. It's just essentially for me it's plug and play. You just stick them on and maybe some minor fine tuning, but they work really, really good.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on from the air box, letting these things breathe, let's talk about the engine. So I know as you were building this thing up, you wanted to add some more power to it, but you know, when you and I were talking about it, you want to keep it reliable, you still want to run pump gas. So what have you done to this thing internally to accomplish that?
So we got with hot rods, we did a 4 mil stroker kit and adapted that with the Vertex pistons and their gaskets. That basically broadens the power curve, gives it more torque, and like you were saying, we wanted to give this thing more power and make it just kind of that ultimate dune machine. If you wanted to go run the mountain, you got plenty of power, but we wanted reliability. We want to be able to go out any weekend and not have to worry about pushing the limits with the motor and then knowing that we're going to constantly be working on it. And then also the ability to run pump gas and not have to be running, you know, super high octane race gas.
I've seen guys, I've heard of guys just running straight alcohol in these things.
Yeah,
so
they'll run methanol on them.
Wow.
So another change we did to this was to start running and utilizing Evans waterless coolant. The nice thing about this coolant is to not have steam and the risk of overboiling, and also helping with system corrosion within the internals of the motor, which is nice after you've went through this motor and put a lot of money into it and the machine, and hoping that you've put the best products in it to allow it to last as long as possible.
Now, one accessory that you were talking about earlier that you said is really important to have, especially when you're adding power to these, is with the clutch. So you've got that Mod Quad clutch cover, but then you've got the lockout clutch system. So kind of explain that to me.
Yeah, so the Mod Quad is a full billet aluminum clutch cover, so it's a lot stronger than the cast stock one. And then one trick item is the see-through lens to see, you know, the oil and stuff flowing. And then the lockout basically works off of centrifugal force and applies pressure to the clutch pack and helps with slippage. You know, you're gonna get some of that when you start pumping these motors up, so it's a really good addition for it.
So just more pressure on the clutch pack, so that way you're not burning up your clutch.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So that's it for your engine modifications.
Yeah, and we also added a Magura clutch, you know, that goes along with it. Basically, much easier clutch pull.
Yeah, I
just
noticed.
kind of like a limousine of clutches.
Yeah, I noticed on this original one here, the clutch pull, I'm like 3 fingers to pull that in. On the Magura, I was like 1 or 2 fingers max, and much smoother clutch pull. I think if I was getting a build one of these, that's definitely probably something I would have on mine.
Yeah, it's super noticeable compared to stock.
All right, so tell us about, you know, some of the other parts on here that you have.
We basically did some ODI bars and grips. The ODI grips are clamp-on, super comfortable. And then to kind of touch on some of the drive stuff, we did primary drive, chain and sprockets, super good, super durable. We also did some TM Design Works. We did a chain slider from them and chain block. A lot better setup than the stock nylon roller. They last, they hold up. We also did some Tusk brake rotors and stainless steel brake lines with brake pads to help with the stopping power. And then some of the stuff as far as cosmetic stuff, just to give it that really cool look and appeal. We did the Tusk front bumper. We went with this really cool yellow OEM plastic and then topped it off with an Attack Graphics custom retro looking graphic kit. And then the radiator covers from Mod Quad just gives it that little blingy look, you know, polished aluminum. And then we topped off the seat with a Factory Effects gripper seat cover, just kind of keep you in place.
So to finish it all off, Jeremy, we're out here at the dunes. Obviously got to have paddles, dune tires. So what do you have on here?
So this front set is a Scat Track Mohawk. The rear is a Scat Track hauler. Basically, they take a new carcass, they buff it down, and then vulcanize the blades to it. Makes it a little bit lighter setup, a little bit more aggressive, and then they're wrapped on a set of Douglas Blue Label wheels, lightweight, perfect for out here. Then on this one here, you'll see a completely different setup. So these are a molded style tire. The rear ones are what they call a V-blade. So these are really good for playing, turning up in the bowls, where this one, you're gonna be able to go out and play and still have a good time, but they work a lot better on straight, you know, hill climbs, things like that.
All right, everyone, so there you have it. That is Jeremy's 1998 Yamaha Banshee build. Now remember, like I said earlier, there's a lot of you out there that probably have one of these sitting collecting dust, or maybe you want to do a build. So take some ideas of what we talked about today. We're gonna go out, we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna go rip around on the dunes. So if you want to see all the parts, because there's a lot of things on this Banshee, just click on the link at the end of this video, and that way you get to see everything that we offer for the Yamaha Banshee. I'm Chaser Rocky Mountain, we'll see you on the trails.